Okay, this video is going over the number system riser view paper. So please follow along, pause the video. If you don't understand thing, go back, rewatch the parts that you need to go over more. So let's do this. Okay, the first question says divide the numbers using the models. You don't need to use the models, but if you want to, you can. So it's 2 divided by 1/5. So one way we divide with fractions is we do keep, change, flip. So keep the first number. So change the second, change the sign, and then flip the second number to become 5/1. So 1/5 becomes 5/1. You flip it. So then I multiply the numerators. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 1 is 1. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So 2 divided by 1/5 is 10. To use the models, you split each one into 1/5 sizes, and then you count how many are in 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 1/5 in 2. So that's another way you get 10. Okay, next one. Divide and simplify your answer. 1/8 divided by 3/4. Okay, we do keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction, change the sign, flip the second fraction. 3/4 becomes 4/3. Now I can multiply the numerators. 1 times 4 is 4. 8 times 3 is 24. We could have simplified before we multiplied, or we can simplify at the end. So let's simplify at the end here. I know I can divide the top and the bottom by 4. If they're both even, we can divide them by 2 for sure. And then you'll see that you can divide them by 2 again. But we can divide them both by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So 1/6 is my answer for that division problem. Next one. A candy shop produces 5.226 pieces of candy per day. There are 26 pieces of candy in each bag. How many bags do they produce each day? So if there are 26 pieces of candy in each bag, if we divide that number by 26, then we can see how many they produce each day. So I'm going to do 5,226 divided by 26. Okay, so I see how many times does 26 go into 5? No times. How many times does 26 go into 52? 2 times. 2 times 26 is 52. When I subtract, I get 0. I bring down the 2. How many times does 26 go into 2? 0 times. 0 times 26 is 0. I would subtract and get 2. I bring down the 6. How many times does 26 go into 26? 1 time. 1 times 26 is 26. And I have 0 left over. So 5,226 divided by 26 is 201. So that would be 201 bags of candy that they produce each day. Okay. Next problem, number 4, 1.51 minus 0.421. So when we subtract, we like to line up the decimals. So the decimals are right on top of each other. For any missing place values, you can put a 0. So 0 minus 1 I can't do, so I need to borrow. 10 minus 1 is 9. 0 minus 2 I can't do, so I have to borrow again. So borrow 1 from the 5. 10 minus 2 is 8. 4 minus 4 is 0. Bring down the decimal, and 1 minus 0 is 1. So my answer would be 1.089. Okay, next one. Brandon needed 4 boards for a shelf he was making. Each board measured 24.6 centimeters. How many centimeters of board does he have total? So if one board is 24.6 centimeters, and we have 4 boards, then we're going to times it by 4. We're not going to divide it by 4 because one board is 24.6. So 2 boards would be more, 3 boards would be even more, 4 boards would be even more. So we're doing 24.6 times 4. So when we multiply with decimals, we count the numbers after the decimal. So there's only one number after the decimal. So that means my answer is going to have one number after the decimal, and then I can ignore the decimal while I am multiplying. So 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So 984, but remember I have one number after my decimal in my answer. So then if I put my decimal right there, I have the 4 after my decimal. So all of the boards together would be 98.4 centimeters. Okay. Number 6. Amanda is buying sticky notes and pencils for school. Sticky notes come in packs of 3 and pencils come in packs of 5. She wants to buy the same number of sticky notes and pencils. What is the smallest number of pencils she can buy? So in other words, it's asking what is like the greatest common factor between the two. So let's list the factors of these numbers. So we have, sorry, not greatest common factor. I just realized I messed up. It would be like least common multiple, because it says she wants to buy the same number of sticky notes and pencils, and she's not gonna buy less than a pack. So for 5, some multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, 15, 20. Multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So the least common multiple between the two I see is 15. So she would buy 15 pencils or 3 packs of pencils because each pack has 5. So that's the smallest number of pencils she can buy. Okay, next one says, find the greatest common factor of 24 and 18. So let's list the factors of it, and then let's find the common factors between the two. So 24, factors of 24 would be 1 and 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Those all give me 24. Factors of 18, let's list them. 1 times 18 gives me 18. 2 times 9 gives me 18. 3 times 6 gives me 18. 4 times something doesn't give me 18, or 5. And then we get it back up to 6. So those are the factors of 18. Then we find the greatest common between the two. So they both have a 1 in common. They both have a 2. They both have a 3. They both have a 6. And there's no bigger number that they have in common. So 6 is common between the two. So the greatest common factor would be 6. Okay, number 8. Compare with the greater than, less than, or equal to sign. So negative 14 compared to negative 9. So if a number is more negative, then it's a smaller number. The mouth needs to face the bigger number. So negative 9 is less negative. It's a bigger number. It's like we owe less if we owe $9 rather than $14. So I'm going to put the mouse facing the negative 9 because that is a bigger number than negative 14. Number 9 says, what is the opposite of 7? The opposite is negative 7. If it asked what is the opposite of negative 7, then I would say the opposite is 7. Okay. Now let's turn to the next page, the back side. It says draw and label negative 3 on the number line. So negative is to the left of 0 on the number line. So I'm going to say negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So I'm going to put a dot right at negative 3. And I labeled it. Okay, next one says graph 3 comma negative 2 on the coordinate grid. So remember we do x comma y. The x, then y, x, then y. So I go positive 3x, so here's positive 3x, and then negative 2y. So I go down 2 on the y-axis. And that is my point when I label it 3 comma negative 2. On the RISE testing, odds are they'll make you drag like a dot and put it where it should be. Just as a reminder, the quadrants, the top right is quadrant 1, the top left is quadrant 2, bottom left is quadrant 3, and then bottom right is quadrant 4. So our dot is in quadrant 4. Okay, next one. What inequality does the number line show? So we see that it's at -4 and it's showing the arrow to the right. So if it's pointing to the right, that's showing numbers bigger than -4. So how I could write that is x is, since it's an open dot, then I know that means it's either going to be a greater than or less than sign. So I know it's a greater than sign because it's pointing to the right. It's showing numbers bigger than -4. So x is greater than -4. If there was a closed dot there, then I would say x is greater than or equal to -4. But it doesn't ask that. 13. Put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So the first one has these bars around it. If you remember, this is absolute value. So it's saying it's a distance away from 0. So the absolute value of -4 is +4. Also, the absolute value of +4 is also 4. It's always going to become a positive number. So the absolute value of -4 is 4. Then we have -2, and then we have 9/10. So from least to greatest. The smallest numbers are always going to be negative. So -2 is my smallest. Then the next biggest looks like it's 9/10 because 9/10 is less than 1, but it's a positive number. And then my biggest number is the absolute value of -4 because that is equal to 4, +4. So that's it in order from least to greatest. Okay, last one. Using the coordinate grid, where is the bookstore? So the bookstore is the book. So it's right here. We need to do the x comma y. So you do a parentheses. Our x value, it goes to 2, and then it goes up 3. So I'd say 2 comma 3. That's where it's located. You can practice finding the other points, like the school would be over 5 up 1. It'd be 5 comma 1. The clothing store would be over 4 up 4, so 4 comma 4. And the grocery store is over 6 up 3, so it'd be 6, 3. And these are all in quadrant 1. So this is like quadrant 1. Okay, so review any of that you forgot, and so you can be ready for RISE testing. Thank you for watching the video.